And it's just that dog, man. I said, I just got this dog in me. I know I got this dog in me that just, just wants to eat, bro. Like I said, I really like, I like to really like try to, I like to consider myself a kind, giving, caring person in general, and it's something I practice and preach. But there's a time for war, like our ancestors, every single one of us, we've had ancestors that have been like on the battlefield, like 300 Spartans killing and blood all over the place, whatever else. And I love to tap into that part of me. And I think, again, it's a missing part. We forget where we got animal in us and that we got this beast in us, and we don't have to use it these days much. But also, I'll tell you, it's a very nice feeling knowing that you can.
Welcome back to the No Limit Boxing Podcast. Got a very special guest in here today, Koen Mazoudier, fresh off a solid win, real solid win. Back in the ring, bounced back on top of things, looking great too, feeling great. I'm assuming.
Feeling good, yeah, feeling good. Could have been better, but that's if it didn't feel that way, then I may as well quit now, as far as I'm concerned. So. But yeah, no, thanks for having me.
No, honestly, you looked great in that fight. It was good to see you back in the ring. Obviously, one of our favourite people to work with. You've never in a dull fight, and always plenty of entertainment. Look, let's talk a little bit about your career, about how you got to where you got to. What were some of your influences growing up?
Yeah, like getting into boxing was through my dad. Like, he's always been a fan of the sport. Like I grew up in the Green Mundine era watching those guys, and watching a lot of the Thursday night, Friday night fights and that. One of my earliest memories of boxing is like sitting in the lounge room. I don't know, it's being in the bathroom actually. My dad was showering when I was like a kid. Him saying, like, doing the big Oscar, Dula, Huya, like announcement, And it always just stuck in my head, I guess. I was like thinking, like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I guess I've always been into like warrior, like stories and like fighting, like different, like, hero books and that. And I guess like now that's why I find myself more and more is like I'm creating myself into like the character, into the hero that I like sort of always grew up like admiring, But yeah, I love this sport. I love what I'm doing.
And then what was your pathway into boxing? Because you're a Western Sydney boy, yeah?
Yep, Blacktown born and raised.
Blacktown born and raised, proudly Western Sydney. How did you get into the boxing then yourself to actually go from that dream to getting it going?
Yeah, just started like bit of fitness and that, especially like mum's. That was what we were telling mum, was just a bit of fitness. I was going down to the gym for that, and just started sparring. And I've always been a super competitive person, real competitive person. And when I played team sports and stuff in the back in the day, it was getting frustrated at other people for mucking up, my work, So being able to take over and be in control of what I'm doing, as much just like anything, just as I said, loving the sport, loving the discipline, and just like loving the person I've become through it. I grew up pretty sort of like nice, sort of quiet sort of kid, like normal sort of kid, But just being able to find that animal, that beast in me, and being able to unleash it. Like the other day, that was one thing that felt real good, was to be that dog again. Like to really bring out that dog, which I haven't brought out properly for a while. And yeah, like now I live it, man. I live this sport, and it's beautiful what it's taught me and given me.
Now you're one of the best super welterweights in the country. At what point did you think? At what point did you know that you were pretty good at the sport?
It's funny. I always had this like belief in my gut, like which I always like deep in my gut. Like when I was like 13, 14, starting the sport, I would never say it back then, but I just felt in my gut since I started I could be world champion at this. Like I could be world champion, And it's something I probably haven't like outwardly voiced and really come to accept as what I feel like my destiny and my purpose to be world champion in this sport, and to like spread the things that I'm doing and becoming and having to be the person I got to be world champion. I like the aspects in the world that are sort of like not so prevalent these days. Like discipline, hard work, self-belief, like grinding, giving, sacrificing things. So I'm very happy to be that person in myself, and then also be able to spread it to like my community, my kids. But yeah, like I think as you go and you like do the sport, you win the fight, you get in the ring with guys. I've done plenty of rounds with guys like Tim and other world class guys, and I'm right there. Like I know I've always been right there. I've not necessarily done the right things in the past, like to meet my potential. Whether it's been like internal things that I've been doing on a daily basis, or just having the external people around me, or whatever else. But now, like more and more, every step of the way, every time, whether something goes wrong or right, I just double down again and just put myself deeper in this sport. And now these last few changes I've made, coming off that last loss and then changing around for this last win, I feel like I've really just, again, like I'll do anything I've got to do to go where I want to go in this sport.
What was it you were doing wrong, and what is it that you've done to change that?
I've done a lot of dumb things in the past, but like, you know, like I think it came down to just not knowing, not fully knowing this is what I wanted. You know, like I'm a lucky person. I can count myself a very lucky person. Have pretty good family, pretty good like opportunities, and like a lot of the dumb stuff was just, you know, partying, drugs, girls, all that crap. You know, all the usual stuff that people are like, you know, getting amongst when they're young, and like. Yeah, I wouldn't say any of it was a like the wrong thing to do. Like I would never say someone, if you can go an easier path and just stay on the path and know what you want to do and who you want to be and do that fully, that's the best way. But it's all taught me stuff, and now I get to like, you know, work in like behavioural schools, help other people that have got drug issues and all these things, mental health issues, and you know, help other people through their struggles. But yeah, like I've done plenty of, you know, stupid party stuff, had plenty of addictions to drugs and whatever else in the past. And like I like honestly, up until like fairly recently, really, like, you know, like 3-4 years ago, I was put into a mental health facility for those issues, and it's only been like probably in the last like 6 months I've been completely sober. I've gotten off the drink and off everything. I had like half a beer after my fight, and I was like, I don't want to be. It's not what I want to be anymore. I just want to be back in the gym, you know.
Yeah. So. No, that's awesome. So what were I guess what are your biggest motivators for that now? Like knowing where you've been, and how much of a saviour has boxing been for that?
Yeah, massive. Like it's been one of the biggest aspects of like who I've become and who I'm being. My kids are a massive motivator. Like my family, I've got 2 beautiful little kids and plan to have as many as I possibly can. I'm convincing the missus I'm number 3 right now, but apparently it's a hard gig, like making a baby. I don't know. I think she's being dramatic. I don't know.
Well, we don't have to do the hard part though, do we? Yeah.
Nah, exactly that. That's what I mean. Like, well, you know, I love her and she's a beautiful woman, and hopefully we'll have more on the way soon. And they're a massive motivator to me. My family, my community, my parents. You know, like my dad's been there. We've always been there since day one, and my dad's been in the corner for every single fight I've had. Being able to like hug him and just see him super over the moon, and that last win is just like the best feeling in the world. Like, and then again, as I said, like I see myself as someone who, in my community, being from Blacktown, being from Western suburbs, like more and more it's shifting, it's changing. You know, we've got these guys like Taito Vasa, Pedro, all these footy players, everyone doing all good things, and you know. But like still there's like a stigma and a way of being that's like, oh, we can't achieve things or whatever else. And I think that's just in general, but definitely in the Western suburbs. So being able to like lift people by the bootstraps, show them I've been in the dumps, like I've been on both ends of the scale. I'm just like a normal person, but I'm going towards greatness and towards what other people see as the highest standards of achievement. That motivates me, you know. It's just it's funny. This game's hard, man. It's fucking hard. Like it's fun when you're doing the job well. It's fun, yeah. But when you're not, it's so fucking hard and uncomfortable. And that's what, like, getting out of that fight the other day, I was like, everyone's like, oh, you must feel so good, this, that. I was like, yeah, I just feel like I just did what I'm supposed to do, basically. But then seeing my dad and seeing my team and then like everyone around me be like so uplifted and like so happy, that like that's what fulfills me, you know.
You talked a bit about your dad influencing, you know, having a big impact on you around boxing at a young age, and obviously now he's still around you. How much of a influence does he have on your current boxing? Like, what's his role in Koen Mazoudier as a boxer?
He's my like best mate, you know. He's my best mate, and he's like a reflection of my thoughts and you know, like where my career goes. He's one of my main confidants and like people that I like, always confide in and talk to. He's never been the sort of person to push me into anything. He's always just been there. Like, never told me to go to the gym, but it would always be taking me to the gym. When I'd say like when I was younger and I'd say I didn't feel like going, he'd just be like giving me the, oh, you should be, sort of, you know, that sort of talk. And so now it's like, yeah, it's the best. Like I feel him in on all the conversations that I have. all the thoughts that are going in. He's just an ear to be there and listen. But then when it comes down to the impact points, the points that really matter, like in the fight, in the depths, he knows how to crack straight through to me. He knows how to like see into someone's soul as well, like see across the ring, tell me like, you think you're tired, that guy's fucked, you know? So he plays a real big part in, you know, he's got a real good eye for boxing and just knows me better than anyone.
How much, you talked about your working community and your working in behavioural schools. How much does your boxing career, you know, help influence them kids when you're talking to them and talking about your journey?
Yeah, massive. Like that's what sort of breaks a lot of these kids, like they come from like, you know, abusive parents, no parents, like foster care, drug issues when they're in their like, you know, before they're teenagers, even some of these kids, mental health issues, whatever else. So like in these communities and in like what I call like the real world, like, you know, is being at a fight's like is a currency, you know what I mean? Being able to fight and defend yourself is a currency. So these kids like respect me in some manner straight away because they see my value, where like the teachers and people that everyone's trying to help them generally, but they don't see that, especially as a kid. Like none of us, everyone, the world's against you when you're a kid, especially teachers and that, you sort of feel that way. Especially these kids, you know, people are trying to help them, but they don't see that. Where for me to be able to come across, be like, look, I'm punching people's heads in. I'm getting paid to do it. I'm on TV, blah, blah, blah. And I've also been in the shithole, like on the other end of things. It breaks down those walls. And it's so cool, man. Like, yeah, I can't really explain how cool it is to be able to help some of these kids and just be around them and try give them a bit of inspiration.
So you inspire them. What do you do to yourself to be able to bounce back as good as you do? Because I think some of the defeats that you've faced in your career, the way that you've been able to turn that around, like I think back to the Wade Ryan fight in Newcastle. That was a hell of a fight. One of my favourite fights that we've had on our shows, without a doubt. How was that fight and, you know, the experience? You know, what do you remember of that? Because 10th round, you know, very close fight through to that, and then that big shot. What do you remember about that fight?
Yeah, I remember it clearly. Like I learned so much. That's probably one of my biggest learning fights. And that was my first televised fight, first fight with you guys, first press conference, all that sort of stuff. And I was just super distracted going into it, focused on all the wrong stuff. I remember being like completely exhausted, like round 3, round 4, I was fucked. I remember after round 2, there's a part in the video where I go to my corner, it was that round 2 or 3, and they go round 2, and you see me go, I remember thinking, fuck. From like round 3, I was blacked out basically. Like I remember it happening sort of, but I wasn't there. I had like a staph infection going into it and just, anyway. But I remember just putting everything I possibly could into it. I remember in round 7 getting hit with a few shots, getting hurt, probably almost getting stopped then, but thinking about my missus at home watching, my kids in the future watching, thinking I can't get stopped, you know. And then unfortunately got caught with big shots in the last round and was exhausted, like flopping around like a fish, not defending myself, and they stepped in with 30 seconds to go. So that was heartbreaking, man. But I've had my heart broken by the sport so many times. Like I had 80 amateur fights, lost 20 of them, always just fell short of national gold medals and all these things I wanted to get to. And like after that Wade Ryan fight, I was another one. I'm in the back room like crying and screaming like a little girl. But like I think that's one big aspect is, again, like people in our society feel like we can't express our emotions. Like whether that's true, we're told that it's just how we feel as men. Like I think expressing your emotions, feeling your emotions is a big thing. And it doesn't mean you got to show other people necessarily if you feel like you got to. But like being able to just let it out is a big aspect. Feel it, learn from it, and then just like assess the situation for what it is. Like instead of getting attached to it and being like a sore loser, a self-pitying person, being able to just assess it, be like, what did I do wrong? What were the aspects outside of my control that went wrong? What were the aspects inside of my control that went wrong? That's one thing I say to these kids too, is like, you got all these things that are in your control, things that are out of control. Things that are out of your control are just out of your control. You can either focus on them and they're your excuses, or you can focus on things that are in your control and you take responsibility, be a creator of circumstance rather than a creature of circumstance, and then prosper and move forward. Like that's what I did. Like I grew so much from that fight, learned so much from that fight, and like then I got Wade back in the rematch, you know. So like that story was just part of my journey, and resilience, man. Like being able to be broken and be fixed. It's something that like I'm proud to be able to do, and I hope others can see that and do the same bit.
You said you had 80 amateur fights, but never got to be national champ. Who was the guy at the top?
It was like a few guys. Luke Woods was one who I lost my first professional fight to, coincidentally. Luke Woods, Jason Malia, lost to him a couple of times. He's a Victorian dude coming through at the moment. Terry Nicholas, which is funny. Like this is one thing I found real interesting. Like a lot of these guys, you know, some guys start real good and they go dog shit later. Some guys don't find their run till later. Some of these guys haven't been able to find that, pick it up. They had their career best things back in the day.
Yeah.
But I've always been like a long distance sort of person too, running wise, all that sort of stuff, you know. Like it's always taken me a round or two to warm up. So I feel like the longer rounds suit me. Now I feel like I've ramped my pace up. Yeah, it's exciting times. But yeah, man, my weight, as we know right now, super welterweight, most stacked division in Australia, one of the most stacked divisions in the world. So it's always been the same. In the amateurs, there's always been a pile of good guys there, you know.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was just about to talk about the super welterweight division here in Australia because it is stacked. There is always good fights available, and it always seems like there's someone new stepping into the super welterweight division too, putting their hand up. I mean, we saw the other week, you know, Zeke Campbell and Laban Stringer fighting. They were at a catch weight, but pretty much super welter as well. But there's so much talent in there. What's your thoughts on the Australian super welterweight division, and where do you think you sit?
Yeah, it's cracker right now. 100%. You got Tim Tszyu, obviously king of the world, king of the division. I put myself like right below him, right under him. Really, obviously you got Ben Marnie, Ben Hussein. I've got the loss to Ben Hussein, the draw with Ben Marnie. Wade Ryan, obviously he just had a draw last night against Inoue over in Japan. But I think skill-wise, ability-wise, I know how I'm growing and where I'm going. I put myself as second in the division after Tim. Obviously, he's a few steps ahead. I understand that. And Nikita Tszyu's right there also, obviously. That was a big talk of Nikita after his last fight. I would have loved to jump in with him ASAP. I still feel like I'm underwater in this ear at the moment, but that will heal up. But, man, it's stacked. Like, there's legit, that Sergey, Russian dude, Danilo Criati's fighting tomorrow night, another one. Like, it's stacked, man. It's such a stacked division. It's crazy. You look down, like, up until, like, the top, like, 15, 20 in Australia, they're all good fighters, all like, hungry young men. But, yeah, I'll go up against any of them. I'm certain of that.
So, you had a draw against Ben Marnie. I feel like, at the moment, you look in completely new shape. The way you fought the other night was amazing. You had that draw against Ben Marnie. How do you think you go in a rematch with Ben Marnie?
Oh, I beat him 100%. I'm certain of it. I thought I beat him that fight. It was close. And it was one of those fights where either of us to say for certain we won is silly because it was close. Depends what you're scoring. But I fought so averagely that fight, and I feel like I've grown massively. And even as the other week was like a 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 performance. The way I'm sparring and boxing is leagues above that. It's just first fight, I hadn't fought in 6-7 months, was a little bit tight, put a bit of pressure on myself. First fight with new camp. But I'm going to get like drastically better every fight. And I know Marnie's doing all his Instagram shoots and model photos and his sponsorship stuff, but he's not fought since we fought, which is strange. I legit was going to just message him on Instagram. Like, we got obviously not the best relationship, but I just was going to message him and be like, what are you doing? Like, honestly, like, are you fighting or what? Because like, I'd like that. I love that fight. I love everyone I've lost to or had a close fight with. I'd love to get in with again. So, see what happens.
Another one that you just lost recently, Ben Hussein. Now, Ben's one of the best and biggest talkers in Australian boxing. He's usually got a bit to say. What are your thoughts on a rematch opportunity with him, and how does it look? Love
a rematch with him, and again, I think I bashed the fuck out of him this time. I think I bashed him last fight. Like, it's so funny, man. Like when I fought Wade Ryan the first time, we had that fight of the year contender war. I had a staph infection and like my first 10-round fight, whatever else. When I fought Hussein, like I wasn't fit. Like honestly, was not fit compared to what am now. And like the way I train now, and the level of my intensity and the level of where my mindset's at is just leagues above where it was. And we had that cracker fight of the year contender as well. So I think I punched his head in, but you know, like he scraped the win. He did what he had to do last time. Brought a style that I wasn't expecting and a fight I wasn't, you know, prepared for necessarily. But yeah, I think I punched the living daylights out of him now.
So if you could pick your next 5 fights, who's the next 5 guys that you would love to get in the ring with?
Well, I don't know if I can announce who you've signed recently. That's one I like. I like that one. That I heard you just signed up yesterday. That's one I really like. But yeah, Ben Hussein, of course. Like I'm always out for revenge. Like anyone that I've lost to, Ben Hussein, Ben Marnie, the Wade Ryan trilogy would make sense. Nikita Tszyu. Yeah, they're like a few of the guys there. We had Austin Trout too, like in the books. I had Austin Trout lined up, which would be, I'd love to fight Trout. That's like not only just for I think I can beat him and it's a good international fight, but like again, it's someone I've grown up watching and you know. Yeah, Ben Hussein, Ben Marnie, Wade Ryan, Nikita Tszyu. Old mate, you knew mate whenever you announced that one. That's a good one. I reckon we make a good fight that one.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
On Nikita, obviously there was a lot of talk about Nikita after leading into your fight and then even after it, you know, there was a lot of questions about whether Koen would be fighting Nikita and Nikita Koen. What are your thoughts on that fight?
I think it's a great fight. Like stylistically, I think we match up real well. You know, we're both come to fight. Like we're not scared of a fight. We both get hit. We both my record might not look like it, but I know I got some power as well. And yeah, it's a fight I love. You know, like. But for me as well, like as much as anything, when I think about it, like for me, I'm not like one of these other guys like that. I couldn't give a rat's ass about getting a little quick payday or put my name up in lights right now. Like I want to be world champ. I want to be one of the greatest fighters of my generation in Australia. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking long term, long game. So for me, like that fight, I'll fight whoever is there, and also I've got a really good team now that I trust to make those decisions for me. Luckily, but I would fight him right now. Like right, if you walked in the door right now and you put some gloves, I'll be like, let's go. But as a businessman, and when I put those shoes on and think like logically and intelligently, I think that's a fight that can also be built up and made into a big fight. But you know me, anywhere, anytime, anyone.
Well, one thing that I can vouch for you for is that anytime we've put a name to you, you've never said no. You've never turned down a fight other than injury preventing you being able to fight. You've never turned down a fight. Where's that no fear attitude come from?
Yeah, again, like it just comes from that internal self-belief, I think, from God. Like that's, for me, I searched in myself where that came from. And it's not something I taught myself or I've talked myself into. It just comes in my gut, in my heart. I thank God for that. But also I love this sport, man. Like, and I want to be, I'm not here to try to appear to be someone or to appear to be something. I'm here to be that person. I'm here to really be that person. You know what I mean? And I don't care about what other people's opinion is of me or what people think of me. It's about how I think about myself. And I believe in my ability. I believe in my work rate. I believe in my mindset. And I've got a team around me that I really, truly believe in now, that I feel like, you know, I've got the recipe there to do it. And it's just that dog, man. I said, I just got this dog in me. I know I got this dog in me that just, just wants to eat, bro. Like I said, I really like, I like to really like try to, you know, I like to consider myself a kind, giving, caring person in general, and it's something I practice and preach. But there's a time for war, you know, like our ancestors, every single one of us, we've had ancestors that have been like on the battlefield, like 300 Spartans killing and blood all over the place, whatever else. And I love to tap into that part of me. And I think, again, it's a missing part. We forget where we got animal in us and that we got this beast in us, and we don't have to use it these days much. But also, I'll tell you, it's a very nice feeling knowing that you can, you know what I mean? And if I know if someone comes in my house or threatens my family or puts someone in a bad position, like even my little boy started soccer the other week, you know, and he was telling me about this other kid, like, like picking on him a little bit, and I was just eyeing the dad out, eyeing the kid out. I was thinking, obviously I can't whip this kid, but I'll whip his dad if he's fucking,
It's hard as a parent, eh? It is hard.
Oh, bro.
Oh, man.
It's hard, eh? He's just started school and soccer, and I'm like already.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, it's what's that saying? You'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So like, I think a lot of it comes from like what I got naturally, but also it comes from a place of fear. Like I was like a nice kid, not like I've been dog shotted in the street. It took me getting like king hit like 2 times. This is like late into my boxing career. Then to the next time I got in a situation to take control of it, and it's just, it's part of nature, you know. So
now I love the entertainment side of boxing just as much as the athletic prowess that everyone's got. I love a good walkout. You had Chillinit walking out with you. Where's that relationship come from, and how did you end up having Chillinit in your corner?
Yeah, that was like, again, my mental health issues, my drug issues that I had. I just messaged him on Instagram quite a few years ago, just telling him like his music had sort of helped me in a way of like, you know, figuring myself out through a period. I remember when I first listened to his music like 4 or 5 years ago, he had like 30,000 followers on his socials, and I was like, I'm going to get this guy to walk me out one day. And then I just had messaged him, as I said, just saying, you're doing good stuff. I appreciate, you know, the messages you're putting out, blah, blah, blah. And then just like, I think when he actually saw me walk out one day, on one of the Zoo undercards, I walked out to one of his songs. He was watching the card. He followed me from there. And then we just started exchanging messages, you know, and that was the first time I met him was like 10 minutes before I fought Wade the second time. And it was a bit of a like wig out, you know, like I'd not seen it. He comes in and daps me up, and I'm like, bro, I literally got to ignore you, basically. He's like, you're going to distract.
I finally got to meet you, now I've got to ignore you.
The show, like, pretty much going to annoy you. And he messaged me 3 days before this last one and said, if you told me, I would have come down again. But I'm just like locked in. That's why even when you talk about fights and this, like, I love the sport of boxing. I said I've worked in business. I've considered myself a businessman, and I can put on all these different hats, matchmake, fucking organize business, promote this, that. But like when I'm at is, I just want to be that person. Like I look at these guys, like the baddest people, baddest guys in the world, and I want to be in those same rooms. You know, like I don't want to just be shaking their hands. Like when Tim won his world title against Harrison, I was backstage and I was appreciative of him coming past, handing his title over, coming and giving me a hug. I knew he appreciated me as someone who has been there in the journey, but I know that I don't want to be someone that's there on the journey. I want to be that guy. Yeah. So that's where I'm just locked in here. But yeah, man, that was such a cool experience. The energy and like to have that memory, it was mad, and we'll do it again at some point, I'm sure. Yeah,
100%. Look, I think we're going to have to get Chillinit to actually make a Koen Mazoudier song. That could be a walkout song going forward.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like, why not? You know, all the rappers always putting in some fighter stuff in it.
100%.
So,
I reckon it makes sense.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favourite fighters?
Favorite fighters all time, like current.
All time and current.
All time, Roberto Duran is my favorite probably of all time. Alexis Arguello, Kosh Tszyu, Oscar De La Hoya. You know, lost a bit of my respect in the later years. But like fighter wise, they're a few of my favorites of all time. Right now, like Jai Pattaya is probably one of my favorite fighters, man. Like Aussie Jai, like I know Jai, but just he's a killer. Like he's a killer, you know. There's a few good guys like Bivol. There's a few guys around right now, but like I grew up again like watching Miguel Cotto. I love Miguel Cotto. A lot of those guys are like, and again, that's why, like, you know, you talk about the show, and I get it, bro. Like, I get, you know, boxing's is like a regrowing the sport again in Australia. People are starting to lash back onto the sport again. People want to see the show. They want to see the characters. They want to see but for me, man, I just want to be one of them stoic samurais that, you know, you see them. They're a gentleman. They're what I see boxing as a gentleman's sport, as a science, as like someone that's a well put together person and turns into an absolute animal in there. So they're my favourite sort of fighters.
But I think that's a character in itself too, isn't it? And that's something that you are known for. You speak well, you fight even better, and you're a joy to watch. What's some of the top fights that you'd like to see coming up, both domestically and internationally. We'll start domestically. What's some of the fights that you'd love to see put on here in Australia?
Domestically, yeah. Well, as we talked about the super welterweight division, few cracker fights there. Me versus Nikita. Yeah, like I guess like Isaac Hardman, Andre Mikhailovich. That's a good one. That's a good fight. What else is there here? Yeah, there's a few good fights. I can't think of any other real good ones off the top of my head domestically, but there's a few good ones there. Like we have such a deep pool, but I can't think of any of the top guys off the top of my head like that.
Yeah.
I have to get get box rec up and
as long as you're only focused on what your fights are, that's all that matters, right?
That's what I mean, man. Yeah, so like all those fights, me versus Hussein, me versus Marnie, me versus Nikita, they all like looking matchups.
Great fights.
Internationally, Bivol versus Better Biv. Obviously, that's one of the big ones.
Who wins?
I think Bivol. I think his feet and his distance and whatnot, and he's also strong enough to deal with Beterbiev. But Beterbiev like got that crazy power and strength, like the way he was bending Callum Smith out of shape. He's a beast. So yeah, I don't know. What your opinion on that? Or
Look, I reckon it's a toss of a coin. I think Bivol's amazing boxer to watch, absolutely amazing. But you see the power of Beterbiev, man.
Stupid.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't know what they got, like some Russian supplements going on there. But
we might leave it there, and I thank you for coming in and joining us on the podcast. I look forward to them next fights that lie ahead for you. I think everyone that you've mentioned is a great fight, and look forward to having you on here again and having you in the ring again. Can't wait for that.
Thanks, Georgie. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for tuning in, and make sure you like, subscribe, follow everything. Tune in, and there's plenty more good fights coming ahead.